Hello, Salemites. Welcome to your daily dose of days. I hope all my followers can find me from my other YouTube page. Anyway, this is a recap for Days of Our Lives for the week of December 19th to the 23rd. Okay, so Monday we come back and we spent the whole weekend worrying what happened in the blast. Of course, Ava had set a bomb in there and it did explode. The good news is everyone survived. Everyone survived. Ava was not breathing, and Trip did CPR and got her back. When we first open on Monday, we see that you just see everyone laying around in the church. Now, Sister Mary Mora, and I apologize, I was calling her Mother Mary. Sister Mary Mora, Mora is her name. She was outside talking to Johnny and Ava. So she was not inside the church, but I did notice that they keep saying stuff like, you tried to kill 5 people. The priest was still in the church, and I would think that Sister Mary Mora got a little shrapnel or something going off in her standing so close to the church. But oddly enough, I think this might have been an oversight of the writers, possibly. But they're such good writers, we can't hold them to one little mistake. Anyway, it's just something that I noticed. So lives are hanging in the balance. You see everyone laying everywhere, and you see them starting to move. I think Trip is the first one to come to, and all he cares about is his mother, of course, even though she's an evil, crazy, psychotic woman. He's over there, trying to find his mom. EJ wakes up. He's like, John Roman, and he's like, Dad, I'm here. I'm all right. Where's Grandma? And he was talking about Marlena, and then they found Marlena. Everybody's a little banged up, and of course they're filthy black from all the dust and stuff. And so we move on, and EJ is busy making sure Johnny's okay. He helps Marlena up. He's trying to find Nicole, and Johnny says she was right here, and they looked over this big beam, and the big beam was laying on Nicole's leg, plus she had what we thought was a broken arm, but that turned out, as we found out later, that it was just a sprain. He gets Nicole. They are working. Johnny and EJ are working on getting Nicole and Marlena up and out, and Trip's over there trying to revive his mother. They're all just ignoring him because so they're all trying to get everybody out. Yeah, EJ, I was trying to remember. EJ has got a hold of Marlena and Nicole and gets them out. And Johnny's still standing there. And he's just looking at Trip. And Trip says, I think Trip got her breathing again. And Trip says, help me carry her out of here. And Johnny just looked at him. And he said, we just can't leave her in here to die. And Johnny said, well, my grandmother, Susan Banks, who of course she killed, said that you should always help someone if you can, even if they're your enemy. So, in memory of my wonderful grandmother, I'm going to help you carry Ava out. So, he wanted to be like his grandma, so he helped carry Ava out. Although he's probably just wanted to leave her there, like everybody in the church wanted to leave her there. Okay, so, they get out. They're rushing them all off to the hospital. Xander surprises Sarah with a surprise birthday party. It's her birthday. So he's at the hospital. And Sarah's enjoying her cake. And then she gets a call that, there's been an explosion. And they're bringing in several patients. So she says, I got to go take care of this right now. So Xander's just kind of milling around in the hospital. Johnny came in and was looking around, and he's like, mate, what are you doing here? You look like, I forget what he said you look like, but Johnny had dirt on his face. And he said, what's going on? I forget exactly what he said. He was pretty much asking him, what have you been doing there? And he said, oh, I just came from the church. And Xander said, yeah, I heard there was an explosion over there. Was it a faulty gas line, I heard? And he's like, no, it was Ava Vitale, and she set a bomb to kill us all. She wanted to wipe, what did he say exactly? He said, she wanted to try to wipe everybody, all of us. This is what he said. He said she tried to blow us all to Kingdom Come. And of course, if you get blown up, Kingdom Come is where you want to be. So, so Xander's like, Ava Vitale, it's impossible. She's dead. And he's like, well, we all thought she was dead, but she's not. So, of course, Xander, his mind is just a whipping because she's got the goods on him. He thought he had slid by a little bit. Gwen's been helping him. They've gone to a lot of work to prove to Bonnie that Xander was not Mr. Clown. So, gosh, I hate that they killed her. So, he's sitting there and he's a little bit worried, and before Johnny walked away from him, Johnny said, well, yeah, she's in there in the room. If you don't believe me, go take a look. In which he does a little bit later. So, everyone's banged up, but everyone survives. Tripp did the CPR, got his mother back. So the people that were in the church were Ava, Tripp, Marlena, Nicole, Johnny, EJ, Sister Mary Mora, and the priest. Now, Sister Mary Mora, she was, I keep calling her Mother Mary Mora. I don't know why that stuck in my head. No offense, of course, to the Mother Mary. So, I forgot what I was saying. That's what happens when you get over 60. You forget stuff. So, anyway, okay, I was talking about Sister Mary Mora. Moray, I think they call her. I really can't make out exactly what they're calling her, and it's just tongue twisting. But she was on the outside of the church, if you remember, because that's where Johnny was talking to her, and Ava was standing there too when she said, this young man come in shouting at EJ, and and Johnny's like, shouting at my dad about what? Oh, he was screaming something about how he killed his mother or something, whatever he was saying. And she's like, was it Tripp Johnson? And she's like, I believe that's what his name is. So, she run in the church to save her son. This is what mothers do. This is what parents do. And this is what children do for their parents. You think they're in there and you can save them, you're going to try to save them. Anyone in their right mind. Ava's not in her right mind, but when it comes to your babies, I've noticed that about people, even people with some severe psychosis, in other movies, and this is actually probably true. No, I don't know that, so I'm not going to say that. But, it makes sense that your memories of your family are what would stay with you more than anything if some traumatic event caused you to slip out of reality for a time being or such. Meanwhile, Brady confides in, now before Brady and Eric were talking, John was finishing his conversation with Kristen, trying to get her to trust in him, confide in him. She's telling him stuff. He's telling her stuff like, he told her that him and Marlena had an argument about her because Marlena wants her out. And John's trying to say, I don't think that's necessary. She's just trying to be a good mother. She is a good mother. She's trying to rebuild her family. He was just giving her all these compliments. And she's like, well, I really appreciate that, John. Oh, y'all had a fight about me? I should know what that's about. So, and I've said all along when John came up with this plan, Kristen is too smart for this. And I was right, as we see later. But she goes right along with him, and then she leaves to go pick up Rachel. Now, then John and Marlena are in the bedroom, and he's trying to get her calmed down. She's still reeling from that explosion and everything that happened. Meanwhile, Eric stops by, or was he already there? Somehow Eric, and of course Brady lives there. Yeah, Eric stopped by, and him and Brady are talking, and they're having a few words because Brady's real aggravated at Eric's recent behavior. And Eric's a little aggravated at Brady even calling him out for all the stuff Brady's choices. He's like, really? You moved in Kristen. So Brady confides in Eric. He just snaps and says, Kristen blackmailed me into letting her move in here. And Eric's like, blackmailed you? So he tells Eric the whole kabang of everything that's going on, and Eric is about to die. Now, I don't know if you remember, a while back, Kristen drugged and raped Eric. They have, it's hard to make Kristen the doting mother, loving wife that she seems like she strives to be, but she keeps ruining it because the evil in her, the Demera in her, keeps rising up. So, Eric's got no mercy on her. And he comes up with a plan. Now, I don't know. I did take a few notes because, if I just write like one line or something, I count on that to trigger my memory of the episode. It does not always work, and sometimes it's a little blotchy. So if stuff mismatch or something, you're just going to have to overlook me. Dementia runs strong in my family. So it's just a little brain exercise I do. I do all kinds of little things like that, even little games that keeps your brain smart. My aunt had dementia real bad. My mother, who's 85, is just now showing little tad bits of it. So since it is in my family, probably more places than just them two, I'm trying to make sure, since I'm older, I'm keeping my brain going. Like, you needed to know all that, but you got it anyway. So, anyway, Rafe goes to the hospital because Tripp is in there talking to her. And, and she's so glad to see him. She just, what an actress, right? You just believe that she is Ava Vitale and she's meaning what she says. She loves Tripp. And, she's so glad to see him. He's very glad to see her because he's been mourning her for a couple of weeks while she hid out in the sticks or on the cliff or wherever she's been hanging out since she jumped out the car. I told you all in an earlier video on my other channel, that is no longer there, that I seen something fly out of the car and it looked like a coat or something, but I thought it was a person. I was hoping that Susan had jumped out. But lo and behold, it wasn't Susan. I'm still hoping Susan will show up, that maybe she got amnesia and wandered off and somebody took her in, and everyone just assumes that she's dead. So he's talking to Ava, Tripp is, and he's like, Mom, what made you do such a thing to hurt so many innocent people? And before she could even open her mouth, Rafe and Patch walked in, and Rafe's like, I'd like to know the answer to that. And she said some little smart aleck words to Rafe. She was being a real smarty pants. So, he ended up arresting her. He said, you're under arrest for the attempted murder of 5 people. And I'm sitting here thinking, what about the priest and the nun? Are they not counted as people? And then I remembered Sister Mary Mora was outside the church, but she was close enough outside the church that she would have got hit by something. It doesn't make any sense to me And she would not have left because this was her sister's memorial service. The priest was inside the church, and there's no mention of him. So, like I said, I think that might be an oversight on the writers there or something, because that doesn't make sense. Why don't they count? Because because they're not main characters. I don't know. So Rafe ends up arresting Ava, handcuffing her to the bed, and Eric, of course, runs to the hospital to check on Nicole. And EJ's in there with her, and he says, she says she's doing fine, and he said, okay, I came as soon as I could. I wanted to check on you. And he said, yeah, she's all right. She still needs a lot of rest. That's why she'll be coming home with me. And coming home with him is what caused the fight between Brady, what caused Brady to punch EJ in the face last week. Because he said, she's going home with me. I just did a pow. There he went. And then he got arrested because he also hit Sean Brady. So, Eric's been a bit of a rebel lately. He's tired of being that goody two-shoes. That goody two-shoe him up big time. But he's coming down to earth now. So, Xander is shocked to find out that Ava is alive. And, he's got to see this crap for himself. So, he goes, and there she is, and he walks in. And he's like, I can't bloody believe it. So she tells him, she's like, I need your help, and you're going to help me. And he's like, I beg your pardon. And he's like, I did what you asked. And she said, no, you didn't. And he said, and you didn't pay me either. She said, you don't deserve to be paid. You didn't kill Susan like I told you to. And that was not, and she's telling him, you're the reason she's dead. Since you didn't kill her, I had to do it. He didn't want her dead, you nutbag. Okay, so she said, you need to break me out of the hospital and get me out of here. And he's like, you're under arrest. You're handcuffed to a bed. I'm not a bloody musician. And she said, I don't care how you do it, but if you don't get me out of here, I'm going to tell Sarah everything. How you kidnapped Bonnie. How it's your fault that Susan's dead. And he's like, she'll never believe you. He said, I can tell her details. She will believe me. And he's looking at her, and then Sarah comes in, wanting to know why Xander's in there. But, he ends up leaving, and he ends up calling who? Gwenny Two Shoes. She's not Two Shoes. She's not a goody Two Shoes. So, he calls Gwen. Gwen tells her he's got to see her right away. They meet, and he tells her what's going on. Ava wants him to break out. So she's like, what's your plan? He shows her this bag where he's got, I swear it looks like those lopper things that you cut weeds with. It's long. I'm sure it's some kind of wire, metal cutter to get the handcuffs off. And she said, are you crazy? And he said, I can get her out of the hospital, and I can get her out of the cuffs. He said, but I need a driver, a getaway driver. And she's like, you want me to do that? And he said, yeah. So he told her to go home and he would be in touch with her. She agreed to do it. Why? Because she loves him. So she goes home to wait upon his instructions. Let me see if I wrote any notes here about anything. Nope. Well, Rafe and Patch had a pretty long conversation about how they both hate EJ and want to get him back. So that's what's going on there. I think that's everything for Monday. Let me see. Yep. Okay, so Tuesday, Gwen meets Leo in that little hole in the wall where they meet to drink. It's some kind of little restaurant or bar. I don't know what it is. And she tells him that Jack was a big no on hiring Leo. Gee, is that surprising since he tried to blackmail him for $1 million? Um, oh my goodness. So, Leo tells Gwen that Xander owes her big and she needs to collect on it. And she's like, he doesn't have any money. And she's like, well, at least you could get him into bed for it. Tell him he owes you big time. And she's like, he's happily married. He's not going to go for that. I don't know why. She loves him. That's why. So, Sarah's in there examining Ava. And she said, your son's so worried about you. And she's talking about Trip. And she's like, really? That's surprising considering this whole thing is his fault. And she said, you're blaming Trip for all this? And she said, no, I'm blaming Charlie, the other son. He was in the car with me. He made me run Susan off the road. He was at the crypt with me. He made me do all this. Every time he makes everything worse. I didn't want to do any of it. He made me do it. And she's like, don't you think you probably just imagined him? And she said, no, he's here. He's here right now. He's standing right beside you. Well, that was after when Trip come back in the room, she thought Trip was Johnny. And it showed that crazy dead boy from the crypt, Charlie, was in the room. And she's like, no, get him away, get him away. Well, she's going all like flipped out. And they're trying to give her some medication to calm her down. And, crazy Charlie's over there telling her, don't let them give you the drugs. They're drugging you just like they did your mother. Whatever. And she's like, no needles. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. So she went over to the dark side. Or did she? So they were transferring her out to Bellevue like ASAP. Did I mention that I'm on Tuesday the 20th now? Yeah, I already said that. Now, oh no, that was Thursday. Okay, so, Bonnie thinks she's doing okay. So she's sitting down having a conversation with Justin, Alex, and Sonny. And she's like, yeah, my life's finally getting back to normal. And she sits down and she's just looking in front of her talking. And then she looks over and all three of them are clowns. Mr. Clown. They all three have the clown outfits on. Excuse me, I have to get a drink. So she tries to fight it off for a few minutes, but she just flips out. She flips out. So Alex and Sonny, Justin said, and she ran out of the room. So Justin said, why don't y'all just go out and have a drink? Because Bonnie's probably embarrassed and I'll handle my wife. So they went out to have a drink. And then Justin was talking to her and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And she's over there taking one of her, some kind of medication. And she was started to drink the water and turned around to say something to Justin or look at him. And there he is. He's Mr. Clown again. She drops that water and Justin just freaks out. And he's trying to tell her, you don't have anything to be ashamed of. I'm your husband. I love you. You need to trust me. Sarah thinks that you have some PTSD. And PTSD is serious, people. And she's got a bad case of it. Bad case. I mean, she has it. So, Justin is trying to comfort his wife. Am I still on Tuesday? So Stephanie's going for that drink, and she ends up in the same little hole in the wall that, of course, Leo and Gwen are. And Alex and Sonny just happen to be standing there talking to Gwen and Leo as he's talking about how he didn't get the job for the gossip column, yada, yada, yada. And in comes Stephanie, and she's like, oh, gosh, I need a drink. And Alex is like, I'll join you. So her and Alex go over to their own table, and they're getting quite close. I would love to see Stephanie with a good guy. So they're over there, and she's telling him how she's going to just work through Christmas. And her family's going to be in Seattle, and he invites her to the Kiriakis house for Christmas. And she's going to go. So, good for Stephanie. So far. I'm telling you, when she finds out he had a three-way with Chanel and Allie, it might be a different ballgame. Even though they weren't together or anything when he did that, it might make a difference to Stephanie. So, let me see. Xander, no, he already said that. So, while Sonny's talking to Leo confides in Sonny, well, my landlord's getting ready to evict me. I gotta get a job or something quick. I'm gonna be out on the street here real soon. So he's like, you should move in with Gwen. And he said, no, Chad's staying there. That's a no-go. And let's not forget you tried to blackmail Jack over Jennifer. So they don't want you in their home, you goof. So he invites Leo to move in with him. I think some sparks are flying between Leo and Sonny, and Wills keeps letting Sonny down, so I don't know what's gonna happen there. But Leo's funny as all get out, even though he's a little devil. So that's that. Is that all of Tuesday? It is. Now we go on to Wednesday. And John continues to pamper Marlena a little bit. He brings her some strawberries and cream in bed. She's still all messed up from everything she's been through. And she is fed up with Kristen. And she told John, she said, in the moments in the church, right before when Ava yelled, there's a bomb, in those few seconds, do you know who went through my mind? And John said, who? And she said, Kristen. Because I was thinking, Kristen, this is who did this to us. And she said, and I come home and this woman is living in our house. And John says, well, I think I made some leadway with her. I don't think so. She exposed you, man. But he still feels like he made some kind of connection with her. And he was telling Doc that, you don't know how bad when I was telling her what a big heart she had. I was just wanting to put my hands around her neck and shake her. So, Marlena's like, well, we know that she moved in here with something putting Brady under duress. So we just need to find out what she's hiding, what she's got, what's going on. And they're very upset about it. Kristen, meanwhile, is busy telling Brady, your stepmother Marlena trying to kick me out, according to John. She should be grateful that I saved her life. If it wasn't for me, she wouldn't even be alive right now. And she's like, she should be thanking me. And Brady's like, well, she would thank you probably if she knew that you helped her. But instead, you decided to use that to blackmail me to get into this house, to get into her home. So nobody's told her that you were responsible for it, and we can't tell her without telling her that you're blackmailing me. Oh, Brady. So something's got to give with Kristen. How many minutes have I been recording here? Oh, I need to wrap it up. Okay, so Nicole is having bad nightmares. She's asleep and starts yelling in her sleep, sets up in her bed, and EJ comes in and he's bringing her strawberries and cream and some eggs. And he's like, I heard you say something before I came in. Were you having a bad dream or a nightmare? And she's like, yeah, I'm all right. And he's like, Nicole, you don't have to apologize. You were just in an explosion. It's okay for you to be, upset. So they had a good laugh. They're bonding. I just see them getting back together, and then we're going to have a whole rerun of Sammy coming back and taking DJ back again. It's just a rerun after a rerun. I hope that doesn't happen. I would like to see some couples be happy on here. Um, Abe is comforting Paulina. He goes to visit her, and she's like, "What time is the bell hearing?" And he said, "I'm sorry, Trask got that moved, so you're going to have to sit in here all Christmas holidays." And she's like, "Ooh, that's Sloan. I guess she got the best of me yet." So she's sitting there all upset, and somebody calls Abe, and he talks to him for a minute, and then he hands the phone to Paulina. So apparently, Belle, being the expert lawyer that she is, flew to London and went in front of a judge and got all this stuff dismissed against Paulina and Chanel. Oh no. Okay. So she gets a call that all the charges have been dropped. So she gets to go home. Meanwhile, Chanel and Allie are fixing a big dinner to take down to the jail. So that was all a big celebration. And Paulina gets to go home. Sloan shows up at the door, though. They're all celebrating with champagne. Sloan shows up at the door and says, "Look at all of you all, celebrating when two people are dead." And she's talking about her mother and her father. And she said, "You may have gotten these charges dropped, but I will make sure that you pay for the death of my mother and my father." And so that they were all looking at her kind of funny. I can't believe her being a lawyer, she goes and threatens them like that. But she did indeed. We move on to Thursday, and it opens Thursday with Gabby and Ari making some cookies, and Lee comes in, and he's dressed as Santa Claus. Of course, Ariana calls him out. "You're not Santa." And she pulls his beard down, and he said, "Well, I'm not. I'm his helper." But she gave him the third degree, but he said, "Well, I guess I'll take these presents back." But she wanted the presents, and he got her a very beautiful bracelet, and they had a very touching moment. He's going to be a great stepdad for her. Wendy decides to go over to the DeMare mansion because she wants to make sure that Johnny's okay, because she hasn't talked to him since the incident at St. Luke's Church. So who opens the door but Stefan? And he's been leaving her messages for a couple of weeks or several days. So she comes in and says she's there to see Johnny, but he's given her the third degree. Luckily, Johnny comes down before she absolutely breaks. And they're talking about how to stage a fake breakup here more sooner than later, so they don't have to continue this fake relationship that they're having. Kristen and Holly run into Chloe in the square, and Kristen and Rachel, runs into Chloe in the square, and Chloe's trying her best to avoid them, and she's like, "Oh, Chloe, doing some last minute shopping?" And she said, "Yeah, I've got a bigger budget since I got a promotion, got your job, and you got fired." And she said, "Oh, well, Rachel and I are meeting Brady for lunch. He should be here any minute." And she's like, "Oh, well, I'm going to get going." And I think Kristen started asking her some more questions. But Rachel said, "Did you buy me a present?" And Chloe said, "Well, Rachel," and she said, "That's okay, because I don't want a present from you. I don't have to see you for Christmas. I'm going to be with my real family." And Chloe, being the graceful lady that she is, said, "Well, you have a Merry Christmas, Rachel." And Rachel said, "What about my big wish that I want, Mommy?" And she said, "We're working on it, honey." And she said, "What do you mean you're working on it? You and Daddy don't even sleep in the same room." And then she looked up at Chloe. So she told Rachel, she gave her $20 and said, "Go, your friend's over there getting ice cream or something. Here, why don't you go get you some?" And Chloe's like, so, you and Brady are back together and you're not even sleeping in the same bed? And she said, well, we're taking things slow. And Chloe said, you mean he doesn't want to touch you with a 10-foot pole? And, they had some angry little words there, and Chloe finally got away from them. Thank goodness. I can't believe I did that. Rachel was nasty. She was a nasty little girl, but that's just a child. Stefan sees Chloe sitting in the square, goes over to her, and he's got a surprise for her. He hands her a little bag. She said, I thought we were going to exchange gifts in Miami. And he told her no. Yeah, but this one's kind of time sensitive. And it was 5 tickets to this symphony that she likes, or opera, something that she likes, because she was getting ready to go to New York to be with her mother and her father for Christmas. And then she was going to fly out and meet Stefan in Miami. So she said, why are there 5 tickets? And he's like, your mom, he's naming these people, and Parker, her son. And he's like, and there's an extra one in case Nancy wants to take a date or you want to take me. And she said, what about your family? And he explained to her that with all this stuff that just happened at St. Luke's, it was all messing with his head a little bit, and he would like to get away from it. So they're going to New York together, and then from there they're going to fly to Miami. So they're moving right along, but Chloe's still got them feelings for Brady. And Stefan's still very much in love with Gabby, but he don't know it. They're kissing, and who walks up? Gabby and Lee. And I forget what they said to him, but then Lee and Gabby walked off. And Gabby just looked at him like that. She's so angry at him, but he can't help it that he does not remember. Eric is beside himself with this information that, is that Thursday? Oh, it is. That Brady told him about Kristen. I mean, he has no sympathy for her. Let's cut her a break. Nothing. So he's got a plan, and he's like, we've got to hit Kristen where it hurts. And the only thing Kristen cares about is Rachel. We've got to kidnap Rachel and then get Kristen to give us the orchid to get Rachel back. And Brady's like, are you crazy? I'm not going to kidnap my daughter. And he said she really wouldn't be kidnapped. I could take her to Florida for a nice little trip. She'll be fine and away from here. And Brady's like, I can't do that. And Eric's like, really? Meanwhile, you're going to let Psycho Kristen decide how long Marlena, Kayla, and Kate live? You need to quit letting her string you around, or whatever his exact words were. I'm not sure. I didn't write it down. So Brady was still saying no, but then Kristen came in and said, oh, are we interrupting something? You didn't show up for lunch. Which, by the way, Chloe rubbed in Kristen's face back at the square. She said, well, it looks like Brady's running late, real late. So Kristen said, you didn't show up for lunch. And he's like, well, Eric stopped by and we got caught up in a conversation. And she's like, well, I know how much family means to you and how much you want to protect them. Isn't that right, Brady? And, that's like a silent threat to him. And Eric and Brady are both just looking at her like, we'd like to knock your block off, because they both know what she means by that. She's sitting there hoping that Brady wasn't stupid enough to tell Eric. So, Kate and Roman. Kate is she's kind of depressed. She said she tried to call to talk to Philip. He's in a psych ward somewhere. And she said they wouldn't even let me talk to him. And Roman's like, why is that? And she said apparently he had another setback. And I just hate that I can't be there. And there's a big breakout of flu, COVID, something at the prison. So she can't go visit Lucas either. She said, it's bad enough I can't be with my kids, but you really want to be with the ones you know that are hurting and need you. And then in comes, what's his name? That other son, the doctor. And he needs blood work from Kate because he has to prove that orchid concoction actually helped these three ladies, helped keep them alive and didn't do any damage to them. So, that's all that we had for Thursday. Now, Friday was what we all love to see every year, and that's the Horton house, the hanging of all the ornaments, and I just love that because they've got ornaments over everyone, like Alice and Tom and all the ones that have actually passed away in real life as well. So that I just love that. Eli comes in with the twins. It was good to see him and see them. Julie and Doug. Doug started out the singing. I love Julie and Doug. I seen somewhere that Doug was 97 years old. Can you believe that? I love Doug. He looks great for 97. Keep on trucking, Doug. Gwen is on the phone. She's setting the table. She's on the phone talking to, I think it's Leo. And she said, yeah, Xander owes me a big one now. Owes me one for sure. This winter weather in my lips. So Thomas overhears her and he said, what does Xander owe you for? And she said, eavesdropping on my conversation, were you? And he said, no, talking too loud. Wasn't eavesdropping, you were talking loud. And she said, well, can you keep a secret? And he said, yeah. And she said, well, I helped Xander pick out a really nice gift for Sarah. But don't tell anyone it's a secret. Because he was having trouble. And he's like, okay. So, of course, Gwen did not have an ornament to put on the tree. She was the only person there that didn't get one. Now, I don't like Gwen. I know she's just conniving and evil. She gives you the impression she's trying to get it together, but I think that's kind of hard that they didn't give her an ornament. I almost felt bad for her. So, of course, Jennifer came home, and Jennifer first stopped at the cemetery to visit Abigail, and Chad was there. And he was leaving some flowers on her grave and talking to her. And then there's a hand on his shoulder, and he looks up and he says, "You're here." And it was Jennifer. And she wanted to stop by and see her baby girl before she went home. And they went back to the Horton house together. Meanwhile, Sarah's going up the steps, I guess, to go to the bathroom or something. And she sees little Thomas standing over by the sugar cookies. She said something to Thomas. She goes over and bends over and is talking to him. She squats down. And he's like, did you like your gift? And she's like, what are you talking about? And she said, the gift that Gwen helped Xander pick out for you. It's supposed to be a secret. And she's like, oh, okay. Who told you that? And she said, well, I overheard Gwen on the phone saying that Xander owes her one. And she told me that because she helped pick out your Christmas present. And she said, no, I don't know what gift you're talking about. I don't even remember what she said to him after that. But that was the gist of it. Okay, so after everybody leaves and Chad's standing there looking at the tree, and he's looking up at the angel, and he's saying, Abigail, I think the kids had some fun, and I tried to make it good for them, even though as good as it can get without you. I gave them something to remind them of you. I forgot what he said. And he said, I hope they liked it. And then you hear Abigail say, I'm sure they did. Now, before he turned around to look at Abigail, he looked again at the Christmas tree where the big angel was, and the angel was gone. Why? Because Abigail's the angel on the tree. So he turned around, and she's like, Merry Christmas, my love. And they just had a few words. It was so touching and so heartbreaking, to say the least. And then he closed his eyes for just a second, and she was gone. And he turned back around, and the angel was back on the Christmas tree. So that was something significant there. I think that was supposed to mean that Abigail was the angel on the tree. And she told Chad that he said, you're here. And she said, I'm always here. She said, you can look for me in the kids' faces. You know, I'm always with you all. And, you know, it was very touching. So that's it for the week of December 19th through the 23rd. Please subscribe. I'm trying to, I don't know how I'm going to find all my subscribers. I just had a little over 200. I think it was 218. But I miss you all. So I'm just going to keep posting because I do it because I love the show. And you guys have a Merry, Merry Christmas. It's Christmas Eve now. Maybe you're just going to sit back and watch some updated videos. I will see you all. I guess since Christmas Day is tomorrow, Sunday, that the Days of Our Lives will have the Christmas Day show on Monday. I have a feeling this is when some bad crap's going to hit the fan. The poo is going to hit the fan. Because I remember seeing some kind of promo where Stephanie's crying that all she wants for Christmas is her mother. So I'm thinking they're all going to take a turn for going down Hillsville Monday on Christmas. I hope not. But I will see you all in Salem next week.